Hello, everyone. I call to order the Cuyahoga County Human Resources Appointment and Equity Committee meeting. Clerk, please call the roll.
As a reminder to all in attendance, this meeting is being recorded and live streamed on the county YouTube page. Calling the roll, Ms. Baker.
Here.
Mr. Gallagher. Mr. Gallagher is absent at the moment. Mr. Miller.
Here.
Mr. Sweeney.
Present.
Ms. Conwell.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Is there any public comments?
No, Madam Chair, no one submitted any public comment.
Thank you. So now we have the approval of the minutes from the April 19th meeting. When you have a chance to review, may I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
No nays. Minutes are approved. Thank you. Please read the first matter referred to committee.
Resolution 2022-0105, adopting various changes to the Cuyahoga County non-bargaining classification plan.
Thank you, Mr. Bouchahine. Thank you for being here, and please.
Good morning.
Give
Good
us
morning,
an
Madam
overview.
Chair, members of the committee. I'm Albert Bouchahine, the Manager of Classification and Compensation for the Personnel Review Commission. The PRC approved recommending updates to the non-bargaining classification plan at their April 6, 2022 meeting. All the recommendations are part of routine maintenance, including the deletion of the Business Analytics and Project Management Specialist classification, which has no incumbents and will not be filled in the future. The updates were prepared by the PRC Class and Comp staff, who has worked extensively with the Department of Human Resources and Agency Management to ensure that they're fully aware of these recommendations. In accordance with the PRC rules, these proposed changes were posted on the PRC's website prior to your consideration today. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Do we have any questions?
Madam Chair,
Yes, go right ahead, Councilman Miller.
I just have one regarding the business analytics position. What department was that in, and why is it no longer needed?
Madam Chair, Councilman Miller, this position was requested by a prior HR director. It's in the Department of Human Resources. It was never filled at the time. It has never been filled since then, and the current director has no intention of filling it in the future.
Okay, thank you.
It's a pretty good answer. I guess it's not needed. All right. Any other questions?
Yes.
Oh, go right ahead.
Do we need suspension on this?
Madam Chair, Councilman, no, we don't. Regular council process is fine. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you for asking. All right, so I will make a motion to move this to the full body to council for second reading.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Nays? Thank you. It has passed. Please read the next item referred to committee.
Resolution 2022-0109, confirming the county executive's reappointment of Yvette Etu to serve on the Cuyahoga County Audit Committee for the term January 1st, 2022 to December 31st, 2025.
Director Pomerantz, will you please give us an overview?
Thank you, Madam Chair. We are pleased today to have Ms. Etu here for a 4-year term beginning 1/1/2022 to 12/31/2025. This is for the Cuyahoga County Audit Committee. And just to remind you, the Audit Committee members include Mike Ebersol, Yvette, of course, is a reappointment, Keith Libman, Salvador Talarico, and today, to answer any questions you may have, the Director of Internal Audit, Monica Houston, is also here. We're pleased, due to the wealth of experience Ms. Etu has, that we hope that you will consider her reappointment, and we also ask for second reading suspension.
Thank you for that. Hello and welcome.
Hi, good morning. So I don't know if I'm supposed to provide a statement, but I'll just,
Give us a
on
little.
behalf of the Audit Committee, and it's run by Chairman Michael Abuzerhall, and my name's Yvette Etu. I've been on the Audit Committee for the past 6 years, and so it's been my honor to serve. It's not always sort of the sexiest thing that happens at the county, but it's very, very important work that's done. So by background, I have been with the Greater Cleveland Partnership and an organization called Cleveland Development Advisors, which is a real estate investment fund, for the past 20 years, managing a portfolio of over $250 million. Prior to that, I was with the City of Cleveland and the City of Lakewood, working in public finance for over 15 years. Currently serving on the Audit Committee for the City of Cleveland, where I serve as the chair of the Audit Committee there as well. So happy to continue serving on the Audit Committee.
Great, very impressive. Any questions?
I should say something.
Go right ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. There's probably, hello, Madam Committee Member. There's probably nobody more qualified than her to be able to do this. I think serving with you in the audit committee in the city of Cleveland. And Cuyahoga County, how was Cuyahoga County's internal audit? How's Cuyahoga County's running financially right now?
So the county is currently under the audit for the 2021 period. It has a new audit. The state auditors are now at the city of Cleveland, which means that we have an independent auditor taking the helm of the audit this year. So we're expecting, and the audit committee was pretty firm on moving that audit a little bit more quickly. You may recall that the last audit was completed in December of 2021 for the prior year. So we're really trying to move that up and complete that audit by mid-year this year. So more to come.
So we're in good fiscal sound position, and we're in good hands having you watch over us. Would that be an
I'd like to think so.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
I am curious, the ERP system is rolling out, and we've come to a point where it now includes payroll, and things are looking pretty good there on that front. So how will this impact the audit committee and its operations? And do you see improvement in the county's operations since the ERP came online?
Yeah, so the ERP has been a major area of audit and for the internal audit department. And that is going to be an ongoing, constant audit process. So with internal audit procedures, it's an ongoing responsibility of the audit committee or of the audit department and the audit department to continue to audit those. So it might be certain areas in certain years and other areas going forward. But the ERP system should be, once up and running, be extremely more efficient for the county than it has been in the past, or the systems have been in the past, that the county is working all together collectively. But it will be a continuous process to just assure that the procedures are running effectively and efficiently. And so internal audit will continue to provide those reports.
Do you have a gauge of where we're at with that process, to where we will actually use it to its most efficiency? I mean, are we from 1 to 10? Are we like maybe on 5? Is that fair to ask?
You know, based upon the information that the internal audit department and the audit committee is provided from the administration, we are well on our way. I wouldn't say we're at a 10. I don't think we're there yet, but I think we're getting closer. If I had to put a number on it, I'd say it's in the 7 to 8 range.
No, because we've spent a lot of time, and we have you in front of us, and gives an opportunity to ask, so I appreciate it.
Sure.
Questions? Okay, so I will this is going for second reading suspension, so I will make a motion to move this item to the full body of council for second reading under suspension of the rules. Do I have a second?
Second, Sweeney. Please add my name.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Hearing no nays. Congratulations, and thank you for continuing. All right, then we have the next item.
Resolution 2022-0110, confirming the county executive's reappointment of various individuals to serve on the Cuyahoga County Community-Based Correctional Facility Governing Board for the term January 1st, 2022 to December 31st, 2024.
Thank you, and we have 3 individuals today that we are happy to receive. Brandy Carney, Vincent Holland, and Scott Osecki.
Madam Chair?
And I'm sorry, yes, Director, if you would please give us an overview of all 3.
Great, thank you. Madam Chair, the Ohio Revised Code 2301.51 established a community-based correctional facility that provides a local alternative to prison sentences for nonviolent offenders who have the potential to be rehabilitated through local punishment, work, and education. On behalf of the county executive, we are pleased to nominate the following individuals for reappointment to serve on the Cuyahoga County Community-Based Correctional Facilities Governing Board. Brandy Carney for a 3-year term ending 12/31/2024. Dr. Vincent Holland, a 3-year term, ending 12/31/2024. And Scott Osecki for a 3-year term, ending 12/31/2024. They're all here today to speak, and if you want to call them up together or individually, I want to make sure that it's the preference of the chair.
Brandy, we know all three, so Brandy, why don't you begin, and then bring each one of you up. That would be nice.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, everyone. Brandy Carney, Director of Public Safety and Justice Services for the county. Nice to see you all. As many of you know, I'm the current Director of Public Safety Justice Services and oversee approximately 6 of those agencies within the county. However, I also work very closely with the other criminal justice and public safety agencies and programs, such as the Sheriff's Office and the courts, for example. I've had the opportunity to sit on the CBCF over the last year and would love the opportunity to continue. They do amazing work. As many of you know, it's an alternative to incarceration, which another one of my the projects I'm responsible for, the Diversion Center for the county, is also alternative for incarceration. So it's a good opportunity to, as both of them, to work together on both of those programs. There's actually the same provider currently within both the CBCF as well as the Diversion Center. So it works well, me being able to see their work in both agencies.
Well, thank you. Any questions? Yes, Councilman Miller.
So, Madam Chair, Director, thank you very much for your willingness to continue to serve. And my question is how is being at the community-based correctional facility different from being at state prison? I presume it's still a locked facility.
It is a locked facility, the community-based correction facility. Again, it's an alternative, and they offer programming in the community-based correctional facility that the jail isn't able to offer. It's an alternative. For example, our courts are able to send individuals to the CBCF, and so individuals might not, they're not individuals that necessarily come from prison, but they're individuals that can be come directly from our jail into the CBCF.
And is there a limit on the length of sentence that people can serve at the community-based facility?
Councilman, I am not sure of the answer to that question. I can get it for you, or one of my colleagues here might be able to answer that. I apologize. I don't know that answer, though.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. Yes, if you could, that would be
Absolutely will.
All right, well, why don't we bring up Mr. Scott Osecki, if you'd like to join us?
Sure. Well, good morning, everyone. As you know, I'm the CEO of the Alcohol, Drug Addiction, and Mental Health Services Board, and thank you for considering my reappointment to the CBCF Facility Governing Board. It'd be really an honor for me to continue to serve on the board to uphold the missions of both the Adams Board and also the CBCF. It's a good combination, just like Brandy was saying in her position as well. It's important, really, because many individuals living with mental illness or addictions end up in the prison system. So the CBCF really provides an opportunity for people with addictions to be diverted from actual prison. They could stay near their families, they could receive the services and skills needed to successfully re-enter the community. I would also like to remain on the CBF board because I believe the governing board can help increase the awareness of the CBCF with our judges and as well as our community. The mission of the board is to enhance the quality of life in the community, committed to mental health and addiction excellence, treatment and recovery support services through our community. The CBCF's mission is to provide offenders who are granted judicial release an alternative to a prison sentence while receiving substance abuse treatment. They also receive job training, educational services, cognitive skills, anger management, and also other life skills in a secure environment. So with the goal of a successful and law-abiding reentry into the community. I've been CEO of the Adams Board for over 4 years, but I've been employed with the Adams Board in several leadership positions for over 27 years. I'm a member of the Executive Committee and Chair of the Ohio Association of County Behavioral Health Authorities. I'm also a member of the Ohio Department of Mental Health and Addiction Services Ohio Crisis Task Force, as well as the Stabilize and Thrive Committee. I'm a member of the Corrections Planning Board, the Cuyahoga County Drug Court Advisory Board, and the Cleveland Drug Court Advisory Board. I'm also a graduate of Cleveland State University, as well as their Leadership Academy Class 13, and I also served as their Secretary, Treasurer, Vice President, and also President of their Leadership Academy Board. So I would really be honored to continue working on the CBCF Facility Board, and I think it's a good match.
Years of committed service. Thank you for that.
Yes.
Any questions for our guest?
Madam Chair.
Councilwoman?
Through the chair to President Osiki, it really wasn't based on the resolution, but just more on the Adams Board. Are the board meetings currently back open? And are they virtual or in person?
Well, the Adams Board meetings have always been open to the public. Right now, we're meeting virtually as per the state allowance to do that. They are on Zoom right now. We'll be going back in person in July. We have that set for that. We have ordered 2 OWL cameras so that we will be able to live stream our board meetings, since the public has gotten used to it's easier to come or watch online.
That's what I needed. Thank you.
That's good to know. I didn't know that, and congratulations on reaching that. Pandemic certainly had a lot of obstacles, but we did learn a few things.
We really did.
One of them, so.
Yeah, yeah.
good to know. Any other questions? Yes, Councilman Miller.
Madam Chair, Director, what is the current capacity of the correctional facility, and how many of the spaces are currently filled?
I believe it has capacity for 200. It has 200 beds, and I'm not sure of the exact capacity right now, but we could get that for you as well. But it's not up to full capacity, no.
And in your opinion, approximately what percentage of the people at the correctional facility have some kind of mental health or addiction disorder?
That's a real interesting question. I don't know the exact percentage, but I know that they do offer counseling services, mental health services. I know they employ or contract with a psychiatrist to help individuals as well with their mental health issues, but I don't know the exact percentage.
Could you find out and get back to me?
Yes, we could find out.
Okay,
We
thank
will.
you.
Yes.
That is a good question.
Yes.
I'd love to know that also. Any other? Yes, Councilman?
Just very briefly, how often do they meet? Because you seem to be on a lot of boards.
Yeah.
Which is cool. I mean, you're just ready to help whenever you can.
Yes, sir.
But I don't want to
Oh, yeah. No, but
have enough time to do this because it's
Oh,
very
sure.
important.
Yes,
Oh, you do,
it
but I
meets,
just-
this board meets monthly. The other boards meet quarterly, so it works
flexible.
out, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Good. Yeah. Any other questions? Councilwoman?
Through the chair to Scott, when a person is kind of picked up and they're brought to the facility for community-based correctional facilities, is there any treatment? You know, they could be on drugs or alcohol and they need that dry out time. Are they just in there cold, or is there some kind of assistance in there? for them?
Individuals aren't brought directly to the CBCF. They're already in the justice system, right?
yeah,
They're in the
they're-
justice system, and then when the court, it's part of their judicial release that they have to go through the program, and they're transported from the jail to the CBCF.
Gotcha. Thank you. Good to know.
And just to expand a little bit on that, the courts, the addiction services, the law enforcement, all those components that you work with, can you just say just a little bit more about how interactive those entities are and making sure that those that are in need get the help they need?
Yes, well, as you know, Brandy mentioned too, that we work together on the diversion center. So we have been really interacting with as much law enforcement as we possibly can. Part of our agreement with the county is to expand our crisis intervention team training. And I believe we've trained over 700 officers since last January. We hold 2 40-hour CIT trainings per month, plus an 8-hour refresher, plus an 8-hour dispatch training as well. The Adams Board, we meet right now quarterly with law enforcement, like the chiefs of the law enforcement. We meet with them to let them know about it. We have a video made that was for law enforcement about the diversion center. So what we really try to do is get as much information as we can out to law enforcement, because if they're running across an individual, right, with a mental illness or an addiction issue, so they'll be able to know how to interact or de-escalate a situation or offer the alternatives that they have to help an individual.
All right. Yes, one more.
Offer Councilwoman Baker's point to Mr. Osiki. How do you identify if an officer, you said 700 are trained, how do you identify if an officer is still in need of training? You know, that they've been through it, but...
Well, that's why we offer the refresher course. So the training is available, right? We offer the training. We let everybody know about the training. What we're also doing is we're offering $150 per day per officer that goes back to their department, because what we heard when we were setting up all the CIT trainings is that it's hard for them to have somebody come in and take over for that officer to sit in a class for 40 hours. So we're trying to reduce that barrier for them to come. As far as an individual, that when and how they need to be trained, that's up to each individual department that does that.
Just wondered if there was some kind of communication, like from the supervisor, whoever's over that officer, that, you know, they know that that officer has been through training, but there's still some things that are going on, and how they identify that they probably need to come back to you.
Yeah, no, I'm not aware. That's for each individual department right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they're not reaching out to you. You just get a list of officers that come in and...
Well, they sign up. They sign up for if they want to participate in the CIT. It's
So
a
it's
voluntary
voluntary.
program.
Okay.
Program, yes. A lot of the departments identify certain officers, like the Cleveland Division of Police, they're under, right, the settlement agreement. They identify and interview their officers to see who would be eligible to be a CIT officer. And because often, you know, to be a CIT officer, right, it's voluntary, and there's a compassion, or people have, you know, lived experience, or in their family, whatever, that they really want to seek out that training. That's how really that we have over 700 officers trained. So, which is quite a bit. You know, it's not, we would like to have 100%, but it's voluntary.
Maybe we can talk offline on how we address that voluntary. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Everyone had, thank you for stepping up, and if we can talk to
Okay.
Mr. Vincent Holland.
All right, thank you.
Welcome, Mr. Holland. Please give us.
How you doing? I will give you my short synopsis. Being 71 years old, I don't want to give you my whole life story. I've actually worked for the probation department, as some people on your panel actually know, for about 32 years. I retired as a chief probation officer, but during the time we were there, we were very active in working to get the CBCF in this area. It was actually the last one in the state of Ohio. Somehow when I retired, I forgot one question that people asked me I should run from. Are you retired? Because when they do that, they're planning your future. I found out that what was very important were my life experiences as much as my academic experiences. I'm blessed to have a PhD, and one person on the panel actually was interviewed for my dissertation. I was very, very happy to see this organization come into place, because it basically is a way to have that step to keep people from going down into the state prison system. And we know one of the best ways to create recidivism is to create the right kind of resources. One of the best ways to get people back in is to send them to prisons where basically we see the rate for recidivism go up and the recidivism go down if we have help. The services over there have been actually put in place over time. People who go there have to stay at least 30 days. Now, saying that, it's not a lockdown facility, because people can transition and go to health places and places like that. We also know there are a lot of resources, recovery resources, which does a lot of the work there. is very, very helpful in, shall we say, contacting people for mental health issues. The Adams Board, as you know, has actually had a mission to deal with trauma and other issues like that too, because we find that a lot of people come in and do not even know what's going on with them. We find a lot of people have to sometimes be re-socialized, and this is a way to do that. We also find out that sometimes it's a way to connect people to things that are very helpful, families, resources, and bring resources to them. We work with programs such as the Adams Board, and also we know there's an issue with addiction. But we also know there's a heavy issue with trauma, physical health as much as that. And when you mention the issues with police officers, one of the things that we had to also deal with is dispatchers, because it's very important that if you have police officers but dispatchers don't know the specialization, that could be an issue too. So we've actually used Portland as a model. Another thing too is kind of important. You'll hear names thrown out like the Memphis model and the Portland model, but the truth is the model has to fit the community. And we have a great staff over there, very well educated, very talented, very energetic, to the point where they've even approached colleges such as Tri-C to have some of their staff trained there in some other sophisticated ways. I think the thing that I find very important is I can give you my biography in relation to academic, but the real reason that I am in this field is because I literally grew up in the Mount Pleasant, Glenville, and Cedar neighborhoods and saw people who were a whole lot smarter than me with a lot more talent who succumbed to different things. I'm blessed to have a little education, but I also went to a high school where the dropout rate was 50%. And a lot of those people, because we know academics and dropout rates correlate to the criminal justice system, had sometimes potential that weren't there. And a number of them have actually come back and done things like that. When you ask about it, I actually work with 6 other boards. One called Stop the Pain, where mothers are dealing with people who've lost children in the streets. I also work with a couple of other organizations on dealing with some people who just need mentoring. Presently, I've actually for the last 10 years, I can't get over this, it's been 10 years, I've been teaching at Tri-C. And I find that a lot of the students going through there have life experiences that sometimes need redirection to the point where some have actually come from war zone countries. Others have come from places where they're dealing with issues of family. And I find out a lot of times students even take classes because they want answers to problems that may be very personal to them. And I think that many of us got in this field because we wanted answers that were very personal to us. I think the other thing, too, as we move forward, is we need to do what was actually mentioned through a lot of places here. We need to have an integrative system that literally is touch button, the kind of things where you can get a hold of people immediately, because most of us work at the classic 9 to 5, but we know the crises happen on weekends. There are times where people need answers, and there are also times where people need services. And sometimes we also need to be more creative about how we take services. For example, at a CBCF, we take people to a place and give them service. It's highly possible we need to see a service model where we take the service to people. And sometimes that can be a way to stop some of those things. I hope I haven't bored you too much. If there are any questions you have, please let me know.
No, it was fascinating. Thank you for your service and background. It's wonderful to hear that we have people out there that are doing this kind of work. Any questions from our? Yes, Councilman Sweeney.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. I didn't call you doctor way back when. I called you supervisor.
I didn't get my doctorate till I was about a few years before I retired. We actually worked together.
Is there anyone that you haven't worked with?
Is there anyone you don't know in this county? You say Sweeney and everybody knows him. And he also is very good friends with my best friend,
Let's keep these things together.
John James, who does all the research and money for council.
Double J came back, watching him drive his
They wouldn't let him go.
Mazda Miata. But just on a serious note, a perfect example of a wonderful human being. And one of the most satisfying accomplishments, if I have any, in my political career, is the CBCF. It was stuck. It was somewhat mind-boggling. There was 87 counties that had CBCFs, and I really didn't know what it was.
We had done.
But we had to put together, and Danny McNay worked his tail off, but it was you, Mr. Pedica, myself, Prosecutor Mason, and the great late Nancy McDonald. And I'm so glad we named it after her. And watching her smile on her face and knowing what impact it's going to have for the people that she cared about the most. And having you 3 individuals, keeping it going the way it is, I can't be more comfortable.
They have a great staff over there.
And just on, the one thing is the underutilization, because the detention, or the diversion center, it seems to be going slow. And the CBCF was always just going good in my
I
eyes.
would say this, the diversion center, like everything else, has multiple groups working with it. And each one is trying to figure out its mission as it goes. Because there's the overriding mission, there's subtle missions. And each one has to be consistent with its own messaging and also with the mission of that. So that's a project sometimes where maybe you need an outsider to coordinate all the missions together. Very important to that. I just realized something. Do you remember what you put in your evaluation when you first met me because I trained you?
I don't know if I want to
Just
hear
popped
this.
to him. It's kind of interesting. He said, "I love the cookies." Do you remember that? I did training and I brought cookies, and that was the only part of the evaluation I remember he said.
He remembered.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was.
Well, thank you for saying something
yeah.
nice. Any other questions you have?
If I may, I was a little curious about the, because I was going to ask you what additional needs are there perhaps to increase for our residents? And that touch button service to people after the 9 to 5 hour, is there any, I think that's pretty insightful that, of course, things happen after 5 o'clock. Did you
Yeah.
have any thoughts on that as to how we
A
can increase
few.
services?
I think that we probably need to use the resources that our clients use. For example, a lot of them in this day and age are on cell phones. I think we also need to sometimes have services where people don't have to go through 2 or 3 layers to get to somebody, because if you go through more than one, usually you hang up.
Bureaucracy piece.
And that's a case also where I think we also need to do another thing. We need to have people who are good decision makers and allow them to make decisions. Because sometimes a person may need multiple services and you can see it, but that person may not see it themselves. It could be something like a domestic incident that we realize if you don't work with it, it may grow. It may be a situation where the person basically may not have food in the house and they need food. And in some cases, it may be the fact that sometimes they just need somebody to listen to what they're doing. And I think in some ways we can engage many communities to do that. For example, we know that in this day and age, our faith-based communities still need to have a little bit more coordination, and they're working on that themselves. I think we also need to start looking at the things that come, a lot of these incidents basically have long histories to them. You see it in the elementary schools, you see it in service organizations, you see it with people who clearly can get through certain things, but they're used to conflict and how they deal with things. And some people can realize conflict really is a path to something, where some people see conflict as a place where we stop and throw in jail. When I was coming here, I heard they were trying to criminalize some things that I thought maybe if you just have people sit down and work with them, you don't have to criminalize them, you can work through them. But we have an answer sometimes that basically, I as an authority figure, I tell you what to do, and you do what I say. Whereas sometimes negotiation, which takes probably about the same amount of process, you can just the same way. I remember as a kid, I was told by my parents, I'm your mother and your dad. But I also have parents that if we had a question, we want to sit down, they talk to us. And I noticed that as we grew up, we used a lot of their skills in our lives, for better or worse, usually better. I think the other thing, too, is you'll talk to people and you hear them give different impressions of the people who are servicing them. Some will cause a smile, some will cause a frown. And they may be at the same agency. I also think our agencies also, and this is something that's really abstract, though, need to get to the point of humanizing people, as opposed to using pieces of paper to describe what a person is. You are X, Y, and Z because we checked it off. And in the process, every time you check something off, you also eliminate something that maybe makes that person more human. Maybe this is a person who is reaching out to neighbors, to young kids, saying, don't do what I do, and can have a voice I could never have.
Well,
Maybe they're a person that basically in some way, shape, or form, if they are shown to go through certain kinds of things and skills, may be able to take some of their street knowledge and also interpret that in relation to, so we say, other areas of knowledge too. And that helps.
I would ask that, you and your colleagues work on those things. I mean, if it's funding, if it's,
Wow.
yeah, that those are, I mean, anytime we can be proactive and try to help before things happen, that people, if you see something, say something, I think that that would be very beneficial to increasing the need that is out there, rather than waiting until it happens and then try to
Very important
backtrack and figure out what. So I think that what you have just described is very insightful. And I would encourage you to go back and try to work
May I say
and
that
some of those
Scott
things.
is working with agencies right now, bringing them together to do things and have conversations like that? We realize a lot of times the first conversation you have usually is an argument.
Yeah.
And after you have the argument, you turn down, then you start working on issues. Because a lot of people are bringing their years of frustration to something in conversation. And if you listen to it, you can also hear those subtle messages in that. And the first thing you do is let people vent, then let them work.
Anytime we
think
can
that'll take
break
a
down the
process.
silos of people doing good work, but not engaging with others, anytime we can break those walls down, we're always better for it. But, yeah, thank you, and thank all three of you. So thank you for your presentation. It's a pleasure. Okay, well, I know this is second reading suspension, so I will make the motion to
me,
move
Madam
this
Chair.
item.
Excuse me, Madam Chair. Excuse me, this is Sarah Nemes, still Assistant Law Director. So we noticed that there is an error in the language of the resolution. It's my understanding that these reappointments are for 3-year terms. The heading language reflects a 3-year term from 1/1/22 to 12/31/24, but the internal body of the resolution only reflects a 1-year term. So the committee may want to move to amend the legislation to correct that.
All right, so as stated, I moved the legislation to change from the 1 year as stated to a 3-year term.
Second.
May I have it? Yes, Councilman Miller. Second? Everyone agree?
Aye.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
No nays? The amendment is taken. So now we will take the amended legislation and make a motion to move this item to the full body of council to
So
serve on
moved.
the Cuyahoga County Board Correction Facility for Brandy Carney, Vincent Holland, and Scott Osecki for second reading under suspension of the rules.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Hearing no nays, it has been passed. Thank you, three, for your service, and we look forward to more good work. All right, Director Pomeranz, I'm sorry, Clerk, would you please read the next item?
Resolution 2022-0111, confirming the county executive's appointment of Alan Roskam to serve on the Cuyahoga Community College Board of Trustees for the term January 18, 2022 to January 17, 2027.
Thank you, and Director Pomeranz, please give us an overview.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Tri-C Board is comprised of 9 members, 6 appointed by the county executive and 3 appointed by the governor of the state of Ohio. Board members must be residents of the community college district, and they stipulate that members shall serve a 5-year term and permits members to continue serving beyond the expiration of term until a successor takes office or for a period of 60 days, whichever occurs first. We are pleased to have Alan Roskam here, and on behalf of the county executive, hope that he will be considered to be appointed for a 5-year term, replacing J. David Heller. Also with us today is the Government Relations and Community Outreach Vice President Claire Rosacco from Tri-C to speak about the board or any other questions the committee may have. If there are no other further questions, I turn it over to Alan.
Madam
Before
Chair.
you get started, welcome. We're really good to see you.
Madam Chair, I have a
Yes,
question.
go right ahead.
My question to Director Pomeranz is that you mentioned the Cuyahoga Community College District. What geographically, what does that include?
I believe that includes Cuyahoga County.
Okay.
Thank you. And again, welcome to Claire Rosacco for being here and supporting this appointment. So, Mr. Roskam, please give us a little bio about yourself.
Okay. I've really had multiple careers. I was a retailer for many years, Joann Stores, Joann Fabrics, and for the past 12 years, I've had the privilege of being the founding CEO of Breakthrough Public Schools. We grew to 6 elementary and 6 middle schools, all in the city of Cleveland. And I've served on public company boards, but also served on a lot of nonprofit boards. And I'm passionate about the transformative power of education, and really excited about the prospect of translating some of the work I've done at Breakthrough and elsewhere by serving on the Tri-C board.
Wonderful. That's good to hear. Any questions for Mr. Roskam?
I just want to thank you. You're going to bring a wealth of experience, and signing up for 5 years at this stage of your career is much appreciated. It's a wonderful institution. I had the privilege of going there, and keep it going. I know it's in good hands with you, not knowing you, but I'm confident.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Yes, Councilman.
Through the chair to Mr. Roskam, just wondering, I know this is a new appointment, and it sounds like you, with founding the Breakthrough of for public schools, you'll bring a wealth of knowledge, but how do you think that you'll bring that and integrate that on this board? Will you work on identifying for when new college students are entering college? I know many of them, if they graduate from public schools, they might have to take more remedial courses and things of that. Have you given that any thought?
So I'm, a good board member is also a good learner, and so I'm very excited to immerse myself in the wonderful work that Tri-C does. But from my experience at Breakthrough Schools, Breakthrough has recently embarked upon an alumni success program. We graduate young people at age 14, and we now have begun to fund and develop staffing for a program to support our graduates, kind of a 14 to 24 program. Provides, and I was also on the Say Yes planning committee and on the operating committee, and the whole, many communities, not many, but other communities have a college promise program, but what's unique about Say Yes is the idea of intervening at critical points in a young person's academic career. And so I think I have an appreciation of some of the challenges that many Tri-C students face. What excites me about Tri-C, and again, I'm still learning, is not only do we have the associate program that has value, great value in and of itself, but also can lead to an undergraduate degree or even a graduate degree, but we also do tremendous training, workforce training. And I'm looking forward to learning more about all of those things, but the overall impact of Tri-C on the Northeast Ohio community is tremendous. And I had the privilege of having breakfast with Dr. Johnson and some of the staff, and what Dr. Johnson told me about was the ability to more customize the support of each individual student, so that when, just like Breakthrough's now trying to do, when that student hits an obstacle, could be anything, can't afford a PC, don't have a place to stay, whatever it may be, or some family problem. My impression is that Tri-C has moved dramatically to improve its student support services, and as a result has improved its graduation rate. And I'm, again, want to learn more about all those things, but clearly from my experience, those are the right things to be doing.
Yeah, that's wonderful, and I think with your private sector experience, along with the schools, is going to complement the board very nicely. So good to know that you're going to be there. Any other questions? All right. So, and this is also third reading suspension. So I'll make the motion to move this item to full body of council to appoint Mr. Alan Roskam to serve on the Cuyahoga County College Board of Trustees. May I have for second reading suspension under suspension of the rules? May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Hearing no nays. Congratulations and good luck.
Thank you very much.
Madam Chairwoman,
Yes.
thank you. Just to Director Pomerantz, a follow-up on Councilperson Miller's question. I'd just like a very specific answer, because it says Cuyahoga County Community College District. Is that state law that puts it there? Because it could just say, must be a resident of Cuyahoga County. And the district seems to be something that could be interpreted as any place that could draw a student from Cuyahoga to Cuyahoga Community College, which is a vast difference. So I just want a very specific answer, if I could request that, Madam Chairwoman.
Sure.
Through the chair, Councilman, I'll work with our legal department to get you that answer.
Yeah, and if it is district and if it's a state law, it could be a very tidy loose end to get exactly what they're asking for. 'Cause I would like to make sure their intentions are followed. Thank you.
Good. Yeah, let us
Yes.
all know that answer. That would be.
I feel that clarification will help us all. Thank you.
Madam Clerk, would you please read the next item brought to this committee?
Resolution 2022-0112, confirming the county executive's reappointment of A. Stephen Dever to serve in his official capacity as representative of Cuyahoga County on the Lake Erie Energy Development Corporation Board of Directors for the term May 1st, 2021 to April 30th, 2024.
Thank you. And Director Pomerantz, please give us some background.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Lake Erie Energy Development Corporation Board of Directors was created in 2006 pursuant to the county legislation enacting the Great Lakes Energy Development Task Force and the 2009 multi-party agreement enacting LEEDCO. And we are pleased on behalf of the county executive to submit the following reappointment nomination for service on the LEEDCO Board of Directors. A. Stephen Dever for a 2-year term beginning May 1st, 2021 and ending 4/30/2024. And Mr. Dever is here to speak on his behalf, and if there are any other further questions, please let me know. Thank you.
And welcome, Mr. Dever. Please
Good morning.
introduce yourself.
Good morning, Madam Chairman, members of council. Steve Dever is my name. Just a little background. I served for 25 years in the Cuyahoga County Prosecutor's Office, 10 years as the chief trial attorney. In 2010, I left the prosecutor's office. Since that time, I've been active in my own private practice in Lakewood. I also serve as secretary and general counsel for the Ganley Auto Group. I've been affiliated with the LEEDCO project since its inception. This began with a county initiative. It has since expanded to include the lakeshore counties from Ashtabula, Erie County, Pennsylvania, Lake County, Cuyahoga County, Lorain County, the Cleveland Foundation, the City of Cleveland, and the Port of Cleveland, all with the initiative to evaluate and to support the creation of an offshore wind industry in Lake Erie. So I know you might have a number of questions. I'd be happy to answer those and address those.
Great. Thank you very much. First of all, any questions from my?
Yes.
Yes, go ahead, Councilman.
Madam Chair, to Mr. Dever, thank you very much for your willingness to serve. And my question is that I know that there was a case involving LEEDCO pending before the Ohio Supreme Court, and has the Ohio Supreme Court made a decision yet on that case?
Councilman Miller, that case is still pending before the Ohio Supreme Court. We're anticipating within the next several weeks that there will be a decision. There was an appeal that was brought by a number of interested parties who are challenging the reversal of the Power Siting Board's decision to originally curtail approval for the LEEDCO project. We had received a conditional approval from the staff that was presented to the Power Siting Board. This is probably, I think 2 years ago now. The Power Siting Board approved the construction for these 7 turbines in Lake Erie. And then subsequent, the scandal concerning House Bill 6 and the questions concerning influence also touched upon the Ohio Power Siting Board and the chairman there. So after that issue evolved and the search warrants of the former Speaker of the House's home, the Power Siting Board had another hearing and reversed their decision and gave approval to the LEEDCO project, which was the last item that we needed it to accomplish in order to be able to construct turbines in Lake Erie. The Power Siting Board is ultimately the decider once you've gone through the 11 various regulatory oversights, whether they're the federal government, the Corps of Engineers, the Ohio Department of Natural Resources, and so on. So the case went to the Ohio Supreme Court. It's pending there right now. We're optimistic that we are going to get a clean bill of health and be able to proceed with the project.
Thank you for that answer. And Madam Chair, Mr. Dever, one additional question. It's my understanding that in addition to the site clearance, before you can proceed, you need to get commitments for a sufficiently high percentage of the power to be spoken for. And my question is what progress, if any, has been made in the last 6 months on securing additional commitments for the use of power generated by the project?
And that's a fair question. Since the Power Siting Board decision, which basically, really torpedoed this entire project, the interest from private industry to support the project and to pay the price of power to support the project had changed. We have since that time, and since the events that have taken place throughout the world as far as the cost of energy and as well as the recognition by many, many corporations to want to support renewables and to be sustainable. We have had discussions, and I think that they're very optimistic discussions with local partners who would have an appetite to buy this kind of power and to buy renewables. It fits into their image as far as what they want to project to the public and to their shareholders. But those discussions cannot advance until we get through the Ohio Supreme Court. Nobody wants to get out in front of this because there is a question concerning whether or not it's going to get a final approval.
Madam Chair, one follow-up question to Mr. Dever. Given the major changes that have occurred in the world markets in the last year or two, my question is what your current estimate is as to how the cost of power generated from this project will compare with power generated from more traditional sources, and have the changes in the world markets work to the benefit of LeadCo's competitive position, or have they work contrary to your competitive position?
Back in 2005, when this effort originally started, this kind of dovetailed into President Bush's objective at that time to have 20% of electricity generated by the year 2030 from renewables. And there was this whole power plan that was laid out. In order to accomplish that, it required purchase of wind and solar in order to meet those goals. Now we're in a day and age where we have $100 a barrel oil that's on the market right now. Doesn't look like that's going to change significantly over the next couple of years. And there is going to be continuing this energy revolution. The wind concept is that if you take the turbine that's over at Lincoln Electric, which this county government supported, and also the task force was very instrumental in getting that constructed for Lincoln. And if you talk to the folks at Lincoln, they'll say they wish they built another one because of the cost payback. The evolution of the technology, the blades, all of that has driven the cost of electricity from wind power from here down significantly. And those are going to continue, those kind of innovations. So there's a point now where land-based wind is as competitive as any other kind of generation of electricity. And as the projects in the Atlantic Ocean continue to come online, you've recently heard with Dominion, who is really leading the efforts to build a utility-scale project off of Virginia, that renewables are, especially wind, are going to be cost competitive.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Any other questions? Councilman Sweeney?
Thank you. Mr. Devers, nice seeing you. Do you get combat pay?
This is a public service volunteer, yes.
And I know that. And it just, you're not giving up, right?
It's a lesson in persistence. It's something that when we first started out on this initiative, it was basically what are the things that Cuyahoga County or this region can do to create economic development opportunities so that our kids aren't leaving here to go to Texas or for other opportunities. My kids are, they're all talking, they want to go to Chicago or go out west and stuff like that. And, we need to create those kind of opportunities. And advanced energy is something that originated here. And I know you've heard the whole story about back in the 70s, the deployment of the first land-based wind turbine was at the Plum Brook facility, part of NASA. Before the Renewable Electric Laboratory was established in Boulder, Colorado, much of that activity was developed here in the Cleveland area. And so these are opportunities, but they have to lead to jobs and investment. This is not something that needs to be subsidized by the government, and the initiatives need to come from the federal government. If that's what their objective is that they want to have advanced renewable energy, they need to support the creation of that industry, and they have been. I mean, you have a $50 million loan, or not a loan, a grant here to subsidize the cost of this project. And the project was created for the purpose of being a pilot to answer the questions. Does it make sense to construct offshore wind turbines in Lake Erie? As far as who the users are, the environmental effects, whether or not the weather conditions, the ice, all of that stuff has to lead to a economically feasible as well as in the best interest of the public. So that's the goal.
Through the chair, I've been watching this and being part of it from the outside for the entire existence, and it's painfully slow roadblocks every time you turn around. But the beauty of how you just said it, most people think it's electricity provided to a consumer at a reduced cost. But what I just heard from you, and I've been watching from the get-go, it's economic development for companies to come here to produce the parts that come. And when we have a city called Cleveland with wind energy that have jobs, we become a cooler city and people want to come here. So this little train that keeps going, I appreciate your efforts, and I actually see a possible light at the end of the tunnel if this turns out the way we all anticipate. So, Madam Chairwoman, I can't thank you enough for letting me ask the questions, and I just wish you well and let you know that we're here to help.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. Any other questions? I do have a couple, and as I mentioned to you earlier, certainly the wind turbine on land use is something that we're used to seeing. It's on property that perhaps farmers aren't using and allow for wind turbines. But the wind turbines in Lake Erie, I've always been a little reluctant to accept the visual piece of it. And I understand that only 7 is being used for trial. But how many do you anticipate, if the trial is successful, would we be putting?
Well, that's questions that have to be answered by the public and by the investors. I would indicate that in 2010, there was a wind resource assessment that the state had put together and identified in quadrants, 1-mile quadrants, the entire Ohio portion of Lake Erie to where it would be suitable. Suitable, not interfering with the sea lanes, the fishermen, the fish, the birds, all of those things for answering that question. This whole process of creating a pilot project is to educate the public as well as the investors, the developers, all of those as to whether or not the suitability of putting turbines out into Lake Erie, to answer the questions concerning ice, the birds, the bats, all of that stuff. And then on top of that, we felt that the communities, in order to maximize the community benefit, needed to collectively come together, those of us who live along the lakeshore. So that's why we reached out all the way to Erie County, Pennsylvania, and all the way over to Lorain County, because those are the waters where potential offshore wind would be developed. Realistically, it's going to be way out into the lake because the wind resource is better out there. How that affects the viewshed are questions that will have to be answered. The technology continues to evolve, but the benefit of creating the LEEDCO is that each member of the LEEDCO board that I am asking to be reappointed to are all either public officials or appointed by their county government for the purpose of saying, well, how do we protect the public interest? We need to have a planning activity. Otherwise, when the technology evolves, and you see it in New York State, we're going to have a wind rush. And there will be projects that will be popping up with various counties competing for those projects. what we wanted to do is to say, no, that the representatives of the government need to get involved in this, who have access to the community groups and also to properly answer all of those questions in a public deliberative process to identify where there are appropriate sites for wind development and where they're not. Of course, we have to go back down to Columbus because Ohio Department of Natural Resources and the Corps of Engineers and the US EPA will ultimately be deciding who gets a permit to develop anything in the lake. So anyone who's apprehensive to say you're going to put, thousands of turbines out in the lake, it's an unrealistic assessment, and there's a lot of conversations that are going to have to take place, years of studies that are going to have to take place in order for somebody to get a permit to go to utility scale. That's why you start with a pilot, to learn, to get the experience, to decide whether or not that's a prudent way to go forward.
All right, that's really good to know, because the way it's been reported is that it could be up to 2,500 turbines in the next 5 to 10 years, and I can visualize people standing at the lake looking at the beautiful sunset and then seeing all these, and I know they're only a thumbnail, tall because it's out 8 miles, I believe.
Yeah, for these, but eventually utilities will be 30 miles out.
That's
They'll
a
be
different
further out.
story.
Yes. But keep in mind, they're going to be larger sized turbines because this technology has grown immensely. When we started this, it was 2 megawatts, They've got projects now, General Electric is making 12, 15 megawatt machines. Those are big power producers. So pilot project, we get the experience, we demonstrate to the wind industry that we're doing this in a very prudent way to protect the public's interest, protect the environment, and then if the next phase is to lead to a utility scale project, that occurs here in Cleveland, in the Cleveland area, and that investment takes place here as far as much possible to localize it to local businesses and the workforce.
Okay. Well, it's a fascinating project, yes,
May I ask a follow-up question?
of course.
My question is, how many wind turbines would constitute a utility scale project?
I would say anything that's over 100 megawatts would fit into utility, and that's where it would require for the permitting and everything. And you'd have to go through, the full environmental impact statement, which is the process that's taking place right now in New York State, in the Erie waters of New York State. They are evaluating projects off of Lackawanna, New York, and things like that, because they want to just leapfrog to the utility scale projects. They have more of a robust state policy for supportive of renewables that Ohio doesn't, and they're really trying to take the leadership role. We think that this prudent way of cautious development and using the pilot is going to be the most successful, because the regulators, the environmental, those who are opposed to the project and have legitimate concerns, their questions can be answered.
Thank you.
All right, yes.
Make a motion to refer the reappointment to the full council. Do we need second reading suspension on this
I
item?
believe we do.
I will include that in the motion, and so moved.
Thank you very much. Do we have a second?
Second?
Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Congratulations and good luck with the project.
Thanks very much.
Please add my name.
Mine too.
Okay. We have finished with all the appointments. We are moving on to a very important discussion regarding the tuition assistance program. So please come forward. Welcome, and please state your name and
Excuse me, Madam Chair, would you like me to read?
the item into the
Ordinance 2022-0003, an ordinance providing for an amendment to the Cuyahoga County Human Resources Personnel Policies and Procedures Manual, Employee Handbook, to create a tuition assistance program to be applicable to all county employees.
Thank you. And Director Marshall, please give us an overview of what you're presenting to us today.
Thank you. Good morning, Madam Chair and
Excuse me, can you speak into the microphone, please?
Excuse me. Good morning, Madam Chair and Human Resources Committee. I both appreciate and welcome the opportunity to talk to you about the proposed county tuition assistance program for county employees. I have with me today a team of HR professionals as well as school professionals to also talk about our program. Cuyahoga County continues to pursue opportunities to become an employer of choice while providing opportunities for employees to live their best life. The county seeks ways to support and encourage employees to reach their personal goals, to take advantage of educational opportunities to enhance their job-related skills, and to provide paths to career development. Acquiring new skills, staying current with best practices and new technology, and gaining access to new information improves employee productivity, creates a pool of qualified candidates and productive staff, and strengthens the county's commitment to promote the economic well-being of its employees. This program, along with others offered to the county, speaks directly to our diversity, equity, and inclusion strategy, that Cuyahoga County would be a place where we create opportunities for all employees to reach their full potential. Having been a participant of a tuition reimbursement program in order to both receive my bachelor's and master's degrees, I am personally familiar with not only the monetary value, but the morale value, sense of belonging, and a feeling of personally being able to make an impact on my future value that tuition assistance programs afford the individual. So I'll quickly interject my own personal story. I was the fourth oldest of 12. I left high school and went to Central State for 2 years with a grant and a scholarship. Once the grant ended, the matching funds ended, and I had to come back home and get a full-time job, which I did at the Federal Reserve Bank. At that time, Baldwin Wallace instituted a program whereby the Federal Reserve Bank offered to do tuition reimbursement. I was a single parent with 2 children and able to finish my undergraduate degree all on a tuition reimbursement program. I grew up right here in the inner city, not even 15 minutes from where we are today. And I'm excited to say that this is a program I am passionate about. I'll keep going with, just wanted to throw that in there. Having been an administrator as well of a tuition reimbursement program in my previous employment as an employer, the reasons I most often heard from employees was that participation in tuition assistance programs allowed them to improve upon their financial future for themselves and their families, create opportunities for greater job satisfaction at the place and in the areas where they currently worked. As part of my research to develop and propose a tuition assistance program for Cuyahoga County, Human Resources looked at tuition assistance programs offered by Cuyahoga, Stark, Summit, Franklin, and Hamilton counties, as well as the City of Hudson, City of Solon, 2 CBAs for the Akron Public Schools, and of course my former employer, Kent State University. The goals of our tuition assistance program are to empower our employees to seek further education, improving themselves and enriching their lives through education and future career opportunities. It is our hope that this program will help employees that may not have had the opportunities in the past to pursue higher education. We believe that this program will serve our total compensation philosophy, that the value of working for Cuyahoga County is not only in the paycheck that an employee takes home, but in other benefits offered by the county, vacation and sick time, a retirement system, flexible work schedules, health care, and hopefully with your assistance, the tuition assistance program. I do believe that being able to offer that the county has a tuition assistance program will certainly help with recruitment and retention efforts. As there are a number of questions that I'd like to address, if you allow, I'd like to provide responses and then possibly take your questions. Would that be okay?
That'll be fine. Of
Okay.
course. Thank you.
So I believe that we would be able to make adjustments easily to the program that we've outlined here. The program, is set up in such a way that leaves room for tweaks along the way. We have a statement at the end of the program, that says, any exception granted by the Director of Human Resources will be made on a case-by-case basis. So we leave it open that employees may ask for exceptions, things may happen, and so that it's not a cut and dried. If you don't follow it exactly to these rules, there's no way to be a participant. The implementation will assist Cuyahoga County. It is our belief that this program will indeed improve recruiting and retention by making the county an employer of choice in the region, While I have not gathered statistical data, I know that in my former position, that was a common statement that employees were remaining at the university as a direct result of the opportunity to participate in tuition reimbursement programs. It was also a topic of discussion among my colleagues at the 14 Ohio Public Schools, where we had meetings almost quarterly, and we discussed the benefits being offered by our different institutions. Tuition assistance was always on that agenda. We were always looking for ways to not only, think of a public institution. The goal is to better the community in which it resides. Tuition assistance and having programs in place like that offer that opportunity for employees. In addition, I believe we also grow capabilities for our current employees to prepare them to move up internally to positions of greater responsibility within the county. So instead of relying solely on the outside labor market for candidates, we build our own internal workforce. We invest in them. They, in turn, hopefully are going to reinvest in us. I believe that, it is well documented that Cuyahoga County has issues with attraction and retention, specifically in the areas of HHS and sheriff. I believe that these programs do in fact offer us opportunities to increase and improve our retention, specifically in these areas. Each of the universities represented here, thank you all for coming, offer programs that will help with our retention. In our conversations with them, they've both specifically identified places where they can help in areas of coaching, in areas of job development, in areas of higher education. They've identified areas, and any questions that you may have, they are more than prepared to ask and come up to the podium if you would like. The PRC, in fact, did have some concerns when we presented the program to them. You should have received a letter from them stating that they are all for it, on board, and were very complimentary of the program when I presented to them on April 6th. Their concerns were involved around flexibility of the program and making that it is accessible to everyone. And that's what prompted adding that last statement that on a case-by-case basis, we can review exceptions if there are to be any to make sure that everyone has equitable access to these programs. We will develop metrics. We haven't yet, but working with the representative from these three schools, and we'll get to them, we're going to develop metrics. They have ways already on how they measure success in their programs, and we'll be utilizing their expertise to help us develop metrics. But an easy metric is that an employee enrolls in the fall semester, and they follow up in the spring semester, and then they follow up again in the fall semester, and they continue until they have a degree or certificate in a program, or they've garnered the information in education that they need to further their career or develop more in the job where they're interested. We are working with all of the universities, and let me introduce those universities. They are Baldwin-Wallace College, and I think they're a university now, CSU and Tri-C. As we're working on our communications, we are working with all of those universities, and we're working with our communications department. So we have ways to get this program out. I am passionate. I am excited and happy I've gotten emails, and I'm saying to those employees sending us emails, hold your horses. I'm hopeful that it's coming. So I'm excited to be here and to talk to you about it and answer your questions, whatever else they may be. What is the expected budget? We've said it's...
Director Marshall?
Yes, ma'am.
That would be a good stopping point before we
Oh, good, okay.
until we get to the funding. And I would like to recognize those that are here. Tri-C, we see thank you for joining us, and we may bring you up if there's questions. And Cleveland State, who do we have representing Cleveland State?
We have Janet Stemple, Assistant Vice President of Enrollment Services. We also have Ellen Chen, who's the bursar at Tri-C.
And Baldwin-Wallace?
Yes. So from Baldwin-Wallace, we have Nancy Jurusik, hopefully pronounced that right, Christy Bittinger, and Dr. Swagata Bannock.
Welcome, and we may bring you up if there's questions from my colleagues here, but any questions before we get into the funding as to the mechanics of the...
I just want my name added, because I am like you. This is very needed for my HHS. So add my name.
Thank you.
Yes, Councilman Sweeney.
Thank you. Long overdue, right? How's it going to work? Like the nitty gritty through the chair of if someone signs up for a class and they'll get reimbursed for a certain dollar amount? Is it the whole credits they're gonna get?
So that's answered further along, but I'll be happy to.
No,
answer-
that's
oh,
fine,
okay.
I'll wait.
All right.
But retention, I can go to Cuyahoga County and get a job because they have reimbursement for higher ed. But once I get it, they can leave because they're better. Is there words in there that says they have to stay? I don't, that kind
Up
of
to
stuff.
3 years.
It's 3 years?
3 years.
And if,
And I can break that down.
Excuse me, Ms. Marshall. He's
Oh,
speaking to
I'm
the
sorry.
microphone.
Oh, closer, okay.
yeah, so I'm just, I'll just read it all when you.
Oh, I'm going to explain it here.
Oh, I thought,
Yeah, there's mechanics here of the financing piece, and I think you're kind
yeah,
of
but
going in
there's
that direction.
financing, but then there's mechanics of it, but
Yes.
I'll chill till you're done, and then I'll probably forget half the
And
questions I
one
have in my
really
head.
does blend to the other, so it's kind of hard to separate the two. A question that may be asked is why only Tri-C, Cleveland State, and Baldwin Wallace? If you can answer that question.
Absolutely. So further down in the document, to address those questions, we actually sent out an RFP in July of '21. We got back, and it went out to 14 individuals, 11 colleges and universities. And we got back responses from just these three individuals. They were willing to work with us, work with our schedule, work with our fee schedule. So they were willing to help us get this program moving and off the ground. We didn't want to pick just one university because three are unique. They meet the needs of hopefully all of our residents and our I should say all of our employees for now. And so we picked all three. There was no reason to just go with one when, three exemplary institutions are available to help us get this up and running and impact our employees. So it's because they answered the RFP when we sent it out.
Good. And, as with anything, we're starting new. It's a pilot.
Yes.
We'll, judge after a
Yes.
year as to its performance and how many employees took advantage and the goals that we hope we will reach.
Yeah.
Reached, all of that.
Yes.
We really will have a snapshot a year from now. We'll be sitting here asking you.
Right,
those
especially as
type
I
of
come for more
questions.
dough.
Yeah.
I'll have to have those metrics available.
Oh, we will, we will cross that bridge.
Okay.
But that's all good. Yes, go ahead, Councilman
Yes.
Miller.
Madam Chair, Director, am I correct that the employee supervisor is going to have to pre-approve the class signed up for before they
What
start?
we've outlined in the document that we're working to develop, but to answer your questions, is we're outlining that they have to let us know at least 30 days in advance of the class so that it is approved. So we don't want to be approving a class as basket weaving one-on-one. Where can you use that here? But we certainly want to have the opportunity to approve a class that maybe someone in public works wants to take an accounting course or an accounting program. While that may not directly relate to the job they're in, it certainly relates to a job that the county has to offer, and it improves their ability possibly to be moving to another area if they're interested. So the supervisor will get the initial approval, and then it will come to the HR office for final approval.
So, Madam Chair, Director, I'm presuming that there's a presumption that the classes they take are going to be job relevant and relate to either improving their skills for their current job or else enhancing their capability to be promoted. Is that a fair statement?
Absolutely. And not just promoted in the area where they're in, but possibly another promotion in another area or to work in another area.
And is it going to be expected that that the employee is going to tell the supervisor what their personal goals are in terms of how does this class relate to what I'm hoping to achieve career-wise, or is that not going to be required and they're going to simply say, I'm interested in taking this class and leave it up to the supervisor to decide that it's it's employment relevant.
So what we're going to ask for is a brief statement, so the course that you're enrolled in, and a brief statement and why you would want to take that course. I mean, we don't need a one pager, but maybe a brief paragraph that says, you know, I'm interested in taking this course. It hopefully helps me in this area to get a promotion further down the road in some aspect. When I took the program at the Federal Reserve Bank, that's exactly what they asked for. We had to show how we were taking the course. I was working night check. I was working third shift. And how in the world did a 4-year degree program, how was it going to help me? And I was able to show at that point that as I'm moving through this organization, I intend to use it to do just that.
If the employee is planning on taking multiple courses leading to something, are we going to expect the employee to lay that out from the beginning so that their supervisors know where they're going with this, or is it going to be sufficient for people to apply for reimbursement for courses one at a time?
It'll be sufficient to apply for reimbursement one at a time. They certainly can outline a program if they enroll in a 2 or 4 year program. They can certainly outline that, but we're not going to require that at the very beginning. I mean, maybe down the road we'll look to see if that's something that would be feasible, but it wasn't my intention to start that way. It was to start with a course at a time.
And in developing this program, are there similar programs that others have done before us that you kind of used as models in developing this?
So obviously, I used the one at Kent State where I worked because that program reported directly to me. So I was the administrator over that program. And then I looked at several others. Let me get my notes out because I don't have them memorized. But I know Cuyahoga, Summit. Hold on, give me a second. Oh, I know where it's at. So I looked at the program recently from Solon. I looked at the program from Solon. I looked at the bargaining unit contracts for Akron Public Teachers. We also have, oh, you're so kind, thank you. We also have information from Stark's program, Summit County, Franklin, Hamilton, and Cuyahoga.
And how are you going to measure whether this program is successful, and what are going to be the criteria of success?
So with the help of our colleagues from each of the universities, we're going to develop some metrics. So they're not developed yet. But one of the ways that, in my mind, is simplistic is just that the enrollment is picking up. Instead of having maybe 15 employees enroll in the fall, having 30 enroll in the spring, and seeing that the ones that are enrolled continue to enroll, and that new employees are asking questions. That communication is out, and we're getting more questions about the program and how it will help them. I mean, a good metric is just interest. Are there employees that are interested in that, and what kinds of questions they're offering? But actual enrollment and successful completions of courses and things like that.
Madam Chair, Director, are you going to make any attempts to measure impact on hiring and retention?
Yes, I had not done that and added that as a metric yet. And I surely will talk to someone on my staff about that and our partners with the universities on how we measure that.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. All important questions, and I think you need to probably get a year under your belt to go through many of those metrics.
Yeah.
And as I said, a year from now when we come back,
Mm-hmm.
those exact questions I'm sure will be asked and you'll have answers.
Yes.
Through the chair to director, I have 2 questions, one under the eligibility and one under the eligible coursework.
Yes.
So number 3, I believe it was number 2 under eligibility, why only 1 year was determined? And I thought we were having discussions. So I'm taking that you only have to be an employee here for a year before you're eligible to participate in this program.
Correct.
And I thought at least I was having discussions with other people, a little longer stay. So can you just share why it was finalized as just the 1 year?
We looked at other programs, and where some of them didn't offer any, where some of them offered very limited criteria, most of them were just the first year. At this point, retention is such in a critical state. We want to get them on board, but we want them to look down the road and see that there are opportunities to do more than just be at the job. So I just selected the 1 year based on the fact that I'd seen that in other programs. Kent State's program is only 120 days, one semester. And I can't remember how some of the other colleges are. But a lot of the programs I looked at, they were just 1 year.
Okay, because I kind of looked at it the other way, that, people could come, they could work here, and then they could leave us, and they have knowledge. So,
Yeah. There's a reimbursement schedule on the back of that if they were to leave inside of 3 years, which I can go over as we go down the document.
And then thank you. And my second question would be under the eligible coursework. So number 3, where it talks about does not include conferences or courses required for licensure or certification or to maintain minimal job qualifications. So I think my question or concern was about the maintain minimum job qualifications. For example, if you're talking about a DSAS department, I'm sure that the employees need first aid and CPR to go inside of homes to take care of seniors. So is that something that is already under the budget of DSAS, or?
That would be something that's already in their budget, just like Justice Services is doing their CPR AED training now. University Hospitals is doing it for free, but that cost would have been covered under their budget.
Okay, so I just wanted to make sure some of those pertinent things in
Yes.
order to keep the job wasn't. Thank you, Madam Chair.
All right, you may please continue with the funding.
Okay. So let's get to the funding. The expected budget. Currently, we have the budget set at $1.2 million, and that's divided right now among the general fund and the HHS levy fund. It was based on a participation rate of about 8%. What we did is we asked our Oswald consultants to just help us in this area and give us some numbers of what might be an initial participation rate. So we based that number on 8%, the cost of the courses, how much we were willing to pay out, and we came up with a budget around $2.4 million for an entire year, and $1.2 million for half a year. The next question has something to do with the budget impact, and once again, it goes back to that 1.2 for the first half, and then 2.4 for an entire year. Being that this program, if approved, will start in the fall semester, I don't think we anticipate that we're going to move this 1.2 million very far. The first maybe 6 months or so, but we'll see as we get close to the next semester how the needle moves. Once again, the fund comes from a 50-50 split, the general fund and HHS levy funds. And we expect that a great deal of participation may come from our HHS employees, but you never know. I mean, I'm hoping that it comes across the board to as many employees as possible. I've set aside this program to be administered by our benefits team. It's a program that when I had it over at Kent State University, it was part of the benefits team. I think it's a good fit there to reside in that area. And so we won't need at this time to hire any other additional personnel to administer it, as it is in its initial stages. Tons of questions that I can field and answer and sort of take care of. And then we can see as it hopefully gets more complicated and more packed and full, if we would need to add a staff member or elevate any staff members to handle it. But at this point, I don't anticipate that we will need any additional personnel to hire this, to administer this program. The classes will be under close scrutiny. So we will look, when an employee enrolls, completes documentation, we will look at that documentation to ensure it is a program or a course that can be used here in the county. Our goal is not only to enrich someone else, but hopefully, create an employer of choice with Cuyahoga County. So we'll be monitoring that very closely. I think I've answered, we don't need additional staff. The RFP, once again, was issued in July of, I said it wrong. So it was issued in July and closed in August. And then we awarded the contracts to the 3 universities, Baldwin Wallace, Tri-C, and Cleveland State. Employees can participate in online courses because we know that a lot of universities do offer. My master's program was mostly online, but it was through an accredited university. The grades were designed because that's where most of courses consider that you're doing a good job in the course. You get a B for an undergraduate. You can get a C for an undergraduate and considered successful, and only a B for graduate. And as a matter of fact, most graduate programs, if you get more than one C, you're usually bounced out the program or asked to explain. But usually you're sort of asked to reconsider your option to maybe rejoin the program at a later time. So C is typically not acceptable for a master's level program. We came up with the $3,600 for the year because we based it on 12 credit hours for a year. These are full-time employees who are taking courses, maybe after work, before work, on the weekend, and 12 credit hours seemed a lot for a year. So we based it on that, and we used $300 as just an average amount of what the courses may cost. Some classes maybe cost more than that. Some classes may cost less than that, but we based it on just an average of what a class may cost. And if an employee took 12 credits in a year, it would be around $3,600. So that's just an estimate. I'm sure that we'll be revamping that number as we move down the road. And once again, our representatives are here to talk about their programs and the cost and any questions you may have for them. We didn't include a GED or an educational requirement that's similar to that, because usually when you're hired at the county, we ask for that degree already. And so most of our employees will have that before they enter the county employment, and so we didn't make that a part of the what we're giving a reimbursement for. The program does have strict timelines, only because we want to make sure we know ahead of time who's going to be participating. We're giving employees enough time to do their research. We're talking about a communication plan already. The excitement on each of the representatives' faces as we talk about this program, rolling it out, having our employees participate at their universities to get this education. Baldwin Wallace has already talked about developing forums. Cleveland State already had a name for the program. And Tri-C's like, we're ready, tell us when. And so they are excited as I am. So we want to make sure, though, it rolls smoothly, which we know we'll have hiccups. We're okay with hiccups, but that employees are able to get into classes, they know about the program, and get in the programs or classes that they're interested in. And when I started at Baldwin Wallace, my first job, because I knew nothing about how to do this at the point of leaving Central State, was to get an advisor who literally mapped out my every class from the day I started to the day I walked out. I probably someday, somewhere have that check sheet as I checked off each course, and they're prepared to help us do exactly that for each of our employees. We defined eligibility by a full-time employee, and rather than develop a definition, I literally pulled it right out of our employee handbook under full-time employment, section 6.01. Human Resources will be the final authority on any appeals that may happen. If an employee deems that a course they don't see the value in an employee taking a course, we will absolutely talk with them and be the final authority, though, but absolutely working in partnership with them. We are not here to usurp any department's authority to determine what they think is prudent or not. I need that expertise. I am not a sole decider here, but we will have the final authority on deciding whether a course meets the criteria to be for their current job or future probable employment. We're guessing that maybe around 500 employees will sign up. Maybe that's a little high for the first year, but we're hoping. I'm optimistic. I think it's a great program, and with communication, we certainly look forward. And with the questions that I'm getting from employees about when this is going to start, I'm sure hoping that we get as many. Successful participation, once again, we'll be measuring, we'll have criteria to measure how successful this is and what we need to step it up or what we need to change it. We'll be looking at that along the way. Coordination with Cuyahoga County. So as you can see, the institutions are here representative for each institution. They're ready to do whatever. They're ready to answer your questions, and they're prepared to offer whatever information you need that makes you comfortable enough to go ahead and, move this program along. That's what we're looking for. And so when we talk about what aspects of the program work and what are challenges, we'll be developing that along the way. Each of these universities have success stories on things that they've done to make sure their programming has worked, it's reached the right, employee, the right targets. And we can always bring information back from each of them if you have any questions about that.
Okay.
So that's my part.
Yes.
Yes, so I'll be happy to take questions.
That is a very, very thorough overview of the program. Thank you. I think this committee needed to hear that overview and in order to proceed forward. So thank you for that. Any questions? Yes, Councilwoman.
Through the chair to Director Marshall. So my concern was in regards to, since we're only doing a pilot and we are university rich here in Cuyahoga County, if some of our employees are already actively enrolled in some of the colleges that are not here or in this pilot program, are most of them, the credits are transferable to the other universities, so that the employee might want to take advantage of our reimbursement, but they can only take it right now through our university. So that will be a question I'd like the colleges to answer when they come up.
Okay.
Hey, why don't representatives from the 3 colleges please come forward? And we can perhaps ask those questions.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
before they come forward, could I
Yes.
ask a question or two to the director?
Director, of course,
Yeah.
go right ahead.
Okay. My question is how long are the contracts with the universities?
So as the RFP is written, it's 5 years. Right now, the contracts are being rewritten because they were written ahead of time, and they have dates on them that are before the implementation of this, passage of this program. So right now, it's 5 years, but we have the opportunity in the RFP to adjust it along the way.
And we have not seen these contracts yet, and so they're going to have to be submitted as well to the council for approval. Is that correct?
I'm going to defer to Stephen.
Stephen Witt with Human Resources. So the 3 agreements with the 3 institutions are $0 agreements. And from my discussions with our Department of Purchasing, we feel that those would fall under the normal process of going to the Board of Control as a other item in the back of the agenda, because they are $0, because we are not directly paying any of the 3 institutions. If council would like them to come through council, we can certainly discuss and make that happen.
So how are they $0 agreements? I thought we have to pay the colleges for the
Reimbursement.
We don't pay the colleges. We just reimburse the.
Sorry.
Okay. Okay, we'll think about it. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, that is a point of consideration. We'll probably give that a little more thought as to mechanics of that reimbursement, but good to know what thoughts you had going forward on it. If I may too, Director, you may have mentioned this, but when this is in full swing and $2.4 million is allotted, how many employees would qualify if they took the full, it's a 3,600? How many, have you done that?
Yeah. Let me grab my document real quick. I want to say that when we initially looked at it, we looked at probably 365 executive employees and roughly 145 that were non-executive employees. So roughly, I think the 500 or so.
Good, so if we had 500 take advantage of this program when this is in full swing, perhaps in 2023.
Yes.
That would be a successful program.
Yes,
We would be looking for perhaps more dollars.
Yes.
And, on top of retention, we also can use this as the enticement for employees to come work for Cuyahoga County.
And that,
have this added benefit.
yes. I talk about total rewards as a philosophy because what you take home is more than your paycheck. I mean, we get sick in vacation time. We have a phenomenal retirement system. But we know that employees oftentimes don't leave jobs. They leave individuals, or they leave places where they're not happy, not necessarily with the job, but maybe other circumstances. And so we're happy to be able to offer more than just a paycheck. Here's something else you can get. And maybe you're not going for any particular issue other than from the time I was 7, I wanted to have my bachelor's degree. Now I have a way to do that. So.
And just to be clear, and I know you mentioned it, but just to make sure we all understand, these are classes that are done after hours. There is no in-time, in-service as an employee from 9 to 5 that any of this would be.
Absolutely, and that's very clearly stated in the design of the program. These
Whether
are not
it's
to be.
even lunch hour or.
No, not during any work hours. We have a paid lunch hour, so not during any lunch hours. It is not when you're on county time at all.
Okay, just wanted to make sure we were clear.
Yes, very clear.
Okay. Well, welcome to our guests. Yes, if you would, thank you.
Hello, I'm Janet Stimple. I'm with Cleveland State University. Do we all want to introduce
Yes,
ourselves
go
first,
right
and then we
ahead.
can?
Yeah, let's see who you are.
Hi, I'm Christy Bittinger. I'm with Baldwin Wallace University.
Welcome.
And I'm Ellen Chen. I'm with Cuyahoga Community College.
Wonderful. I'm 2 of the 3, Cuyahoga, Tri-C, and Baldwin Wallace I graduated from, so good to see you both here. And my son, Cleveland
Always
State.
time for another one. You can.
No. But my son is a graduate of Cleveland State, so all great universities. So proud to have you involved in this program. And, our questions are just because it's new and we want to make sure we understand it. I guess we can ask the question, why is it that you want to be involved in this program? What do you see as success for those that enroll? That perhaps may not have.
I'll start from Cleveland State's perspective, since I'm closest here to the microphone. Well, obviously, Cleveland State, along with the county, share the same goal and commitment to recruiting, training, and retaining the highest quality workforce and skills, obviously. We also are obviously very committed to education as a change agent and to better the good of all of us within the county. So we think those things align quite well with this. We as Cleveland State, as others here, are a mission of access. We find that financial barriers continue to be one of the main barriers in access to education. So partnering with a program that can help overcome those things and supplement those pieces to get educational attainment is our programs that we want to be involved with.
Good, that's great.
Hi. And similarly, at Baldwin Wallace, we've really tried to make an effort to reduce those barriers to enrollment. And the opportunity to partner with the county has been a wonderful one because we really want to be viewed as kind of that transformational partner to really help address the needs of, employee retainment and even engaging them to come work for someone. And to be honest, the passion that Ms. Marshall has for this program, we were on a call and it's infectious. And I think that's really what we want to bring is excitement to the employees and bring them into Baldwin Wallace, because as employers need additional skill sets for 21st century employees, I think we really dovetail well to be able to address that. So that's why we are really excited to be here.
Great, good to hear from you.
So for Tri-C, we've actually worked with hundreds of sponsors, private companies, government agencies. The last figure from 2016 through 2020, we've worked with more than 30,000 students of those different partners to enhance their education through some type of tuition assistance programs. So we have a long tradition and lots of experience in this area, and it's very exciting for us to bring the county into that big umbrella and help your employees enhance their education and broaden their career choices.
That's wonderful. And we talk about the necessity of reaching and getting our educational skills stronger, but there's also a engagement. When you go to Cleveland State or Baldwin Wallace or Tri-C, you're interacting with other people, you're seeing the opportunities that are there that may not be somewhere where you typically would look. And, just that whole self-esteem piece of knowing that a person can enhance their skills and bring it back to their job and perhaps encourage others to do the same. It just is logical that retainment would be a piece of this, and promotion perhaps of understanding that you can do more than what you thought you could before you enrolled. So that's those are all wonderful. Director, if you could, you touched on it, if you could perhaps just go back to the retainment piece of someone that enrolls, as Councilwoman Conwell was getting to. What are the rules as far as when someone takes advantage of this and they perhaps just came to our county and they have their first year in? What precautions do we have to keep them so that they don't take the class and then leave us?
Yes. So what we've set up is a repayment schedule. And the way we set it up is if an employee, we've set it back only for 3 years. So if an employee were to leave within 3 years of taking a course, the reimbursement will be required based only on the money that we paid, the funds that we paid out over the last year. 100% of repayment would be required. If they left in year 2, then repayment of 75% of any funds paid out over that past, preceding 12 months. And then if they left in year 3, would be 50%.
So you have some stopgaps there that ensure that if
Yes.
they were to leave, we would certainly be able to retain or receive those dollars
Yes.
back.
Just
Any
on-
questions on that?
Just on
Yes.
that point.
Yes, it's an important piece, and I
It
know
is.
that those listening perhaps want to know what insurances we have to protect the county from educating and then having them leave.
Having them bail,
Right.
exactly, yes.
Go ahead, Councilman Sweeney.
Thank you. The only insurance I see is we can try to get our money back. Is there a way that we can hold their, because we only have access to their funds until, while they're employees. And if they leave, we get their last paycheck maybe?
Yes.
But then it's collections, we have to chase them.
Yeah.
Is there a written document that they're saying, we owe this money and?
We haven't developed that yet, but we certainly can.
No, and that's
Yeah.
that's what I really, it's the not sexy part of the conversation,
Right.
but it's protecting the dollar part of the conversation
Yes.
that I want to talk about. And everything seems to be tightened up on this side, but
Yeah.
I want to tighten up as much as we all the way on that side
Absolutely. Yeah.
before we kick off the pilot program. And that's nothing more than trying to have it totally encompassed as a pilot program and not.
Yeah.
I'm not big on loose ends. Not saying there's one there, but I
Right.
get fidgety with loose ends.
Okay. We absolutely can provide that to you.
With us, yeah. It's,
yeah.
I think that's a
you
question
have to
that all of
create it.
us, when we go back
Absolutely.
to our constituents and those that may question, we want to have that answer.
Okay.
So that would be, Councilman Miller.
Madam Chair, Director, in an earlier draft of this, it was only in the first 2 years, but in this version, it's extended to 3. What motivated that change?
I think that we were still in the draft stages, and we just talked through what might make sense. At one point, we were thinking 5 years, and that's far too long to hold an employee accountable, I thought. But I thought 3 years, I mean, we just talked among ourselves and just thought 3 years was just a good number to give an employee. Hopefully, they've moved through the organization at that point and are definitely interested in staying. But if not, we don't want to cripple an employee's ability to move on if they, if some opportunity were to arise outside of the county, we'd hope that they would stay. But I thought 3 years was just a fair number.
Okay.
2 seemed too short, that was it.
Okay. And Madam Chair, Director, along with my colleagues, I would like to express concern and ask for more information about how we're going to guarantee that if an employee owes reimbursement, that we're actually going to be paid, because my understanding is that there are serious legal problems with doing something like withholding the money from their last paycheck. You know, I understand there's problems with doing that. So my question is going to be, how do we ensure that we actually get the reimbursement that we're owed? Thank you.
I'll do my research and provide a response for you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Just on that point?
Yes, go right ahead.
Thank you. But we can't make it punitive, or not punitive, make it so scary
Excuse me,
they're not
Mr.
gonna
Sweeney,
want.
your microphone.
Right. So that's why I said I'll do my research and I'll get back to you.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
just, when you made a statement on how many people are gonna, you're anticipating
Yes.
participating, I think you said 500?
We're hoping we based our numbers on like 500. I'm sure there won't be 500 initially, but I
just-
sure hope so.
No, but I just asked you, you just stated it was 500. And I'm just correlating how many people participate in the medical reimbursable, the flex spending account.
Oh, I don't have that number with me, but I can certainly get back.
But I'm just saying,
with
those
you.
are they don't correlate perfectly, but I'm just saying, how many would participate in that might have some bearing on what we can anticipate on this particular one. Because those are the most observant benefit employees, coworkers that we have.
Right.
Understanding what is available and
Yeah.
taking advantage of really cool things. Not every employee grasps it like they could. And
I can get you those numbers on that, yeah.
thank you.
All right, any other questions? All right, I will ask quickly here, committee. Are the answers that we received today complete enough that you are prepared to vote this? Or would you rather take one more committee and get some of the answers back regarding perhaps the reimbursement of this program? Where are you comfortable?
Madam Chairwoman?
Yes.
Is this going to take its normal course through
It'll
second
take its
reading and
full
third
3
reading?
readings, so I don't think having another committee would postpone that.
I would be more than happy to support it if we get the information back before the second reading. I'd be more than happy to vote yes. I'm going to vote yes anyways, but that would be my preference. If the answers can come back before second reading.
Absolutely.
Councilman Miller, did you have a comment on that?
Yes, I'm good for voting it out to second reading, and we can get the information back before final passage.
The only hesitation I may have is that if there are questions about what we receive back, that you would be available during that council meeting, perhaps at the second reading, to answer them. Okay, because we're giving away our opportunity to really ask the questions, if there is one, on the information that we would be getting back. So if you could be available during that time, if other council members had questions during the second reading, I would allow that opportunity then to take place. Does that sound reasonable?
And I believe the council president would give you the deference to.
To ask? Sure. Right. All right. Well, given that, any other questions for our guests? Okay, well, it's exciting. I'm really looking forward to it. So I will make the motion to move this item to full body of council for second reading.
Second.
Thank you for the
And
second.
Madam Chair, I do have a couple of final comments.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go right ahead.
Number one, just to state my strong support for the program. The workplace is getting harder across the board on multiple fronts. There's less separation between when you're on and when you're off, and there's lots of conflicts and lots of things that got to get done, and most people have more work than they have time available, and it's just rough out there. And I think anything that we can do to help our employees to thrive and be successful is something we should be doing, and it's a very good public non-profit partnership, and I think it's good for our community. The second thing is that I would say to the to Director Marshall that I've given some thought to the question about the contracts with the universities and whether they should come to council. And my opinion is that being $0 contracts, I think they don't have to come to county council. But the one thing that I would request is that I don't think it should be a $0 contract footnote at the Board of Control or a consent agenda item. I think it should be elevated to be a full item at a Board of Control meeting so that it's carefully considered by the Board of Control as a separate item. That would be my request. Thank you.
You know, I would second that. I think that's a very good understanding of, given that it is a trial program, both Councilman Miller and I serve on Board of Control, and I would be comfortable in seeing it come through that way. Good. All right, well, we have a motion and a second, so now we will vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Hearing any nays? Hearing none. Congratulations. Look forward to
I
hearing
think
just
we
a
should
little
name
bit
this
more information
legislation the
back from
SHEBA
you.
legislation.
Thank you.
Madam
Thank you to
Chair?
all. We appreciate it.
Madam Chair,
Yes,
I would like my name added.
Me as well, if you don't mind.
I will add my name also.
Thank you for your.
All right, any miscellaneous business? Hearing none.